Jonathan Harker writes his travel diary. He wants to find Count Dracula's castle. He leaves his hometown London and arrives in Munich in Germany. He goes to Vienna in Austria and Budapest in Hungary. Then he makes his way to Romania, Transylvania, to meet Count Dracula and talk to him about business. Jonathan Harker reached Bistritz, a small town in Transylvania. Count Dracula had directed him to the Gold Crown Hotel. There Jonathan receives a letter from Count Dracula. The letter said that a carriage would be waiting for him and would take him to Dracula's castle. An elderly couple, the hotel's owners, were frightened because they knew where the guest was going. The old woman knelt down before Jonathan and implored him not to go. She offered a crucifix to him. The locals were also frightened and looked at Jonathan. They said some incomprehensible words, but Jonathan could consult his dictionary. They said, Ordog, Satan, Pokol, Hell, Stregoica, Witch, Vrolok, and Vrozlak both mean the same thing for something that is either werewolf or vampire. Jonathan Harker made his way to another carriage that would take him to Count Dracula's castle. The driver was a sinister and frightening man. It was late at night, and Jonathan traveled through the gloomy hills. During the night, Jonathan could clearly hear the frightening howl of wolves and a mysterious blue flame. The driver reassured the horses, but continued on his way without fear. The wolves came closer and closer, and Jonathan could see them in the glow of the full moon. Jonathan was paralyzed with fear. With a wave of his arm, the driver was able to push the animals away, as if he could control them and they could continue their terrible journey to the castle. Jonathan finally reached the castle, but he wondered if he wasn't dreaming. He heard the door open and was greeted by a sinister-looking old man. It was Count Dracula himself who welcomed him. Now Jonathan would be his guest, but he would gradually discover that he was also his prisoner. That night, Jonathan Harker slept well, and in the morning he learned from a message that the Count was not in the castle. Jonathan realized that there were no servants in the castle, and there were no mirrors in any of the rooms. Count Dracula returned in the evening and found Jonathan in his library. Dracula was very interested in books in England and in improving his English, chatting to his guests in the evenings. After a long conversation, once in his room, Jonathan picked up his mirror to shave and was surprised by Count Dracula. Jonathan realized that the Count had no reflection in the mirror. Startled, Jonathan cut himself, and a trickle of blood ran down his chin. Dracula saw the blood, and his eyes flashed, and his face changed frightenedly, throwing himself at Harker's neck. Dracula, however, accidentally touched Jonathan's crucifix, which was around his neck, and the Count pulled away. The vampire was furious and threw the mirror out of the castle window, saying that it was a useless object. The Count warned Jonathan that he should not sleep anywhere else in the castle except his own room, for he would not be safe. Even so, the guest disobeyed. His only hope was not to go mad, for he felt like a prisoner. He began trying to open locked doors, but without success. At last he found a door and pushed it hard. There was nothing useful there. He fell asleep. As it was already dawn, he pulled a sofa over and fell asleep in the moonlight. When he became aware again, there were 3 young women standing before Jonathan. They whispered a few words to one another. 2 of the women were dark-haired, and one was blonde, with sapphire-colored eyes. All 3 had very white teeth. Jonathan felt a strange sensation of desire and terror at the same time. He longed for them to kiss him. They whispered among themselves and laughed. One of them said, "You go first, then we will go. There are kisses for all of us." The blonde girl stepped forward, but suddenly Count Dracula appeared in a fury and seized her by the neck. He said, completely enraged, "Back, all of you! This man belongs to me." The women laughed loudly and laughed. After that, Jonathan awoke in his own bed and did not know whether he had dreamed all.